First of all, is how to hold the phone. You don't want to hold it portrait side. You always want to hold it landscape, or so that way if you bring it into editing, it'll orient correctly.
Landscape is better for editing.
Yeah. I mean, you can film portrait, people have done it, but if you're really going to do some editing and you want to get it up on TV, oh, sorry, Mark, and you want to get it up on TV, then you want to hold it landscape. Most iPhones are going to film in high def, and some can film now in 4K. So the higher, high def is less data than 4K. So you want to be mindful. You want to know how much storage is available on your phone, because you want to make sure that you're not going to run out of space during filming before you can offload it to a bigger computer hard drive. And you also want to make sure that you're filling on a full battery, because again, keeping your screen on for that long is just going to be a battery drain. Okay. The zoom feature on an iPhone, it has it. It's not that good. So it's better if you're going to film on an iPhone that you position yourself and or the subject at the appropriate distance so you can frame your shot, rather than relying on the camera zoom. If it becomes more important to be able to zoom in and out fluidly while filming, then you might want to think for now about upgrading to a different camera that allows that function. You can do it obviously handheld, and if you're doing it handheld, you again want to be mindful of what you're filming, and you want to try to position yourself so that way you can turn your body into a human tripod and keep things as steady as possible. Recognizing that you are human, and with every breath you take, you're still going to move things a little bit. But by locking your frame, your trunk and your frame, you can pan back and forth, and I'm not recommending you use your arms because that's not going to be as steady. Right, lock your arms in place, and if you can, turn at the waist and the legs rather than your arms.
Turn the legs in place.
Yeah, because your arms are just going to end up being
That makes sense.
too wobbly in a way, and plus there's just too much range of motion, so you might not keep a straight line when you're doing it. So at least if you lock them in place and then you just move, it'll be a little steadier than if you're using your arms. If you can, if you want to, there are some options to help steady the camera. They have these little handheld clamps that you can clamp into your phone and lock it down, and that allows you to keep your hands away, so that way you don't get your fingers in the way of the lens. That's a problem I have. So you keep your hands away, or you can set it down and it serves as like a little table tripod. So if you seat yourself, if you're maybe filming yourself or maybe just one other person across the table from you, you can set it up on a stack of books or something like that, and it serves as a stand, and it will be sure to be steady. You can also, for less than 20 bucks, get an adapter that clamps just like this does, but it's an adapter to a tripod like what Mark is using. So that way you can attach your phone or even your iPad to an actual tripod and be able to get the benefit of the pan bars and things like that, and tilting up and down and the height, and not have to worry about getting a bunch of boxes and books to kind of elevate the camera the way that you need it to. So there are options out there for stabilizing your iPhone if that's going to become one of the main things that you use. Now, that we talk more about the visual aspect of filming with an iPhone, because most cameras out there, including the iPhone, but even inexpensive video cameras, they take excellent video. So long as you have really good lighting, most of the time you're going to end up with a pretty decent video image. Where they fall short, though, is the audio. if we were to film, if you were to film me right now with the phone in this room at your distance, you would get me, one, because the ceilings are not that high. There's not a lot happening around us ambient noise wise. We're still fairly close in proximity. And I'm loud. I know how to project when I talk. Not everybody does though. So, but still, the sound would be rather tinny because onboard microphones, built-in microphones on phones, on cameras, they're meant to kind of get everything equally. What's in front of it, what's behind it, what's around it. They're not going to distinguish the fact that you want my voice coming out more clearly than the air conditioning. That we hear, we know it's there, but you're going to hear it even more on a built-in microphone than we do in real life. So if you're doing a type of production where you're going to then be getting audio, because you're doing an interview or instruction or something like that, you may want to think about investing in an external microphone. So for the iPhone, this thing has a lightning adapter, so that way it plugs right into the charge port of the iPhone. The only issue I have with this particular one is that it's not quite long enough to accommodate the case, so I have to pop my case off in order to plug it in. But it comes with a free app, so that way you go into the app and you can adjust your audio first, and then you can go into your camera mode and start filming and use that microphone. And I'm aware, because our intern Sam has one, that there's another microphone that's wired and it's a lapel mic. So that might also be an option. So you can outfit your iPhone with what you need to do videos. And the first talk like this was filmed on an iPhone using this microphone. We edited it. We were able to put it into Adobe, which is a professional editing software. Went up on YouTube. It's going to go up on broadcast. And again, Sam filmed it. He had enough hard drive space and battery power that, I mean, I talked for a good hour, and it came out just fine. So it's definitely doable. And even with something like this, when you're using the external shotgun mic, he wasn't much further away from me now than Mark is with his shotgun mic to his camera. Even with that mic, if Sam were all the way back there, it still wouldn't come out that good. So proximity can still be important when you're dealing with microphones and things like that. And again, recognizing that with an iPhone or an iPad, the zoom feature is not that good. Proximity is also important, so that way you don't have to use the zoom feature. If you're trying to get a shot composition that's just a chest up, you're going to want to make sure that the phone is at appropriate distance to the subject to do that without zooming. You guys have probably heard the difference between optical zoom and digital zoom.
Yeah.
A lot of manufacturers put out these great numbers for digital zoom, like it's a big selling point. It's not, because when you do digital zoom, what ends up happening is it's really just blowing up pixels, and so when you zoom in really far, what ends up happening is things get very blurry and pixelated and distorted. It's not very good. So optical zoom is the better number. You don't get much on zoom with iPhone, and I have found that iPhone zoom, and I don't really know if they're marketing it as optical or digital, but either way, it just doesn't look that good. It looks like a digital zoom.